Let me see who is here.
No.
Hello, everyone. I'm Müge Kaptan, Senior Product and AI Lead at BBC Media Action. And I support our country offices and media organization for their digital transformation and AI adoption, especially for responsible and ethical point of view. We also support the innovation solutions, including C2PA. We ensure that it's scalable, practical, and impactful. So I'd like to introduce my colleagues from the BBC, Charlie Horford, and which is Principal Research Engineer at the BBC R&D, and we have Krilo Yesin, Haspina Ukraine, and he is Senior Product Manager, and we will also have a Khalifa Said, who is Editor-in-Chief from the Chanzo. The Chanzo is a digital outlet in Tanzania. He couldn't come here today, but he's attending through a recorded audio, and we will hear from him and about his thoughts about C2PA. I'd like to talk about BBC Media Action a little bit, and then BBC Media Action's approach on C2PA. And then I will hand over to Charlie, and then Charlie will talk about what C2PA in detail and in action, and how the BBC is using it. And then we will hear from our media partners, Suspine and the Chanzo, about their reflections and needs around C2PA. We will have some Q&A at the end, but if you'd like to join online, we have Slido. So you can see the QR code on the screen, and also you can type 3710912 for your questions, or you can ask it directly here. So BBC Media Action is BBC's international charity. We work in 30 countries and co-create content in 50 languages. We are fully funded by donors and our supporters. We are a front line of the global challenges like disinformation and also declining public trust. We support media organizations, media professionals to enhance their abilities, make them more strengthened, resilient for fragile environments. And we believe that C2PA is a very crucial, very important development in the open standards, and we are really interested in being part of these global conversations from now on. And C2PA is an open standard for content authenticity and provenance, offers one promising approach to help audiences verify where the content comes from and how or where it's altered. We believe that including the voices from the global majority to make these standards more applicable and relevant to the global audience. When we talk about technology, generally we talk about specification and applications, but it's important that bring in those diverse voices and understand their actual needs, how they work, what kind of challenges that they are facing in their day-to-day life and work, and how C2PA innovation solutions like C2PA can fit in that area. So this is where we are focusing on. And at BBC Media Action, we launched an initiative called Pursuit of Truth. We are supporting a cohort of 30,000 media professionals and 1,000 vital media outlets, especially work and serve audiences in fragile environments. And then as part of this commitment, we want to provide tools, technology, and innovation solutions for them to gather the facts and deal with the external pressures and give a platform to diverse voices. And the C2PA is sitting perfectly in that branch and including other open standards and in that field. And also draw on world-class expertise and innovation to advance the ethical use of AI and content verification in media around the world. And we're also providing a big commitment to supporting research to understand how disinformation spreads and how to respond it more effectively. So I want to hand over to Charlie. So Charlie, what is C2PA in action and how the BBC is using it?
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so I'm Charlie, as Müge has let you all know by now. So yeah, I'm just going to take you through what C2PA is, how we're using it at the BBC, and how we'd love to see C2PA adopted, I guess, around the world and across the media ecosystem, and some of the challenges that we see in that area, and how maybe we can all work together to make it work. So let's first start with part of our problem. So these are 3 examples of disinformation that have had the BBC logo attached to them. These aren't pieces of AI disinformation. This is just somebody with a video editor. They found the BBC logo. They found the BBC font. They know what the BBC's graphics look like. And they put out what the footage underneath them isn't fake. They've just changed the message. They've changed the message. They put something on there that the BBC hasn't published. And so this kind of problem is the one that we really wanted to address with C2PA. So when the origin of content is really hidden, maybe on a social media platform, all content can look the same. You might think all content is equally trustworthy. So in this world of disinformation, how can as a group of media organizations and other people across the world, how can our commitment to accuracy make a difference? So that was one of the problems that we tried to think about when we were looking at creating a new technology in BBC research and development. So what are some of the others? So answering this question, is the media I see genuine or authentic? Is the general thing we're trying to solve? So we know that there's no real way to securely understand what or who created a piece of content. The existing metadata that we have, which can be really useful, is very easily faked. Anybody can add to it. Anybody can manipulate it. The media itself, as we just saw, is very easily manipulated, and there's no guarantee that it's original. And there's no clear way, if you wanted to see it, to understand the journey of that content. What's happened to it when it's left the camera? Who's changed it? Who's added what? Who's modified what? And so C2PA was really created to address some of those problems. These are some of the people that were involved. And it's really grown to be a pretty huge coalition at this point. So you can see along the top there, I've included some of the technical organizations, the tech companies and product organizations in there. So Adobe are a huge driver in this, but so are Microsoft, Google, Meta, OpenAI, Sony, all part of the C2PA board. And then I've added some of the news organizations that are getting involved because this problem is one that we're really trying to solve. So WDR, BBC, CBC Radio Canada, AFP, France TV. Many people are involved in this process. There's many more on that list that I've not added. So I just wanted to do before I get into this in detail, understand how many people in our audience here are sort of technical, have a technical background. Yeah, got a few people there. So C2PA itself is a standard, a technical standard, and what it does is it describes how you attach a signature, a cryptographic signature, the same kind that you might use on a website to give it that green lock. How you attach that cryptographic signature to a piece of content, so it goes inside a file. And binds to the image or the video or the audio to let you understand where that piece of content has come from. So we use a hash to link it to the video and the audio, and we then use a signature across that. So when we started working on this, we tried to understand, we wanted to ask our users if this kind of thing makes an actual difference. And so we've run a few studies. There's recently been one run, I think, by the University of Bergen that's expanded on this. But when we did it, we asked people, we gave them 2 sets of content, the same kind of content, and then one had no provenance on it, the other one had this C2PA data on it, and we said, do you trust, what's your level of trust in each of these pieces of content? And the significant one there was that when we added extra transparency data, when we told people where this stuff had come from, they were more inclined to trust that content. And the important thing for other media organizations here is it was the people that didn't use our website already that were the most affected by that. And so we then ran a trial. So this is a piece of content we ran that came into our verification team, BBC Verify. They then did manual verification checks. And what we wanted to do is take the output of their verification checks and add it into the content, so attach it to the content, and then we showed that to our audiences. We did that with about 5 pieces of content as our trial. Gives you much more detail when you click that blue button to expand it. And we did the same thing. We asked people if they would find it more trustworthy, and they came back about, I think it was about 80% of people said they found that piece of content, that extra data more useful, and it added more trust to the story. And then what we've also been doing is working with an organization called the IPTC to establish a way for publishers to get a certificate that proves who they are, so that people can't impersonate you. So the BBC or AFP in this example gets a certificate from GlobalSign. They send it to the IPTC, and then we add that to a list of not trusted organizations. It's actually just verified organizations whose identity has been verified. So if you want to know how can you use it now, all of these pieces of software and in some cases cameras are available right now to make use of it. So if any of these are in use by you today, I'd encourage you to go and check them out. More are being developed. And with that, who are we handing to first?
Yeah, we've been close to working with the BBC since last year, and we included the diverse voices from our partners to the workshops and the global conversations. And we want to show you one of the thoughts from the Chanzo editor-in-chief, Khalifa Said, is sharing with us about his challenges in Tanzania around misinformation and how the C2PA is relevant to his work.
Hello, my name is Khalifa Saidi. I am the editor-in-chief of the Chanzo. The Chanzo is a digital media platform based here in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, focusing on public interest journalism and public accountability and investigation. The major problem that we face here in Tanzania with regard to misinformation and disinformation includes but not limited to impersonification of brands, a phenomenon that have affected many media outlets here in Tanzania, including the Chanzo, where we have been forced on numerous accounts to come to public and deny the content that have been shared on social media platform impersonating our brands, and it have been very difficult for us to deal with a situation like that, because many people trust our brand, and when they see content online with our logos and brand colors, they can be very difficult for average reader to tell whether it's real or not. But another types of disinformation or misinformation is we have seen, especially during the time of crisis, for example, all the video taken out of context, resurfaced on social media, purported to be about the events that are happening during that week or day, and we have been battling with these problems where you have multiple media outlets in Tanzania which have produced a number of content maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but they are not dated. And if, for example, they are related to demonstrations or protests, and if there is a protest on that day, this video resurfaces on social media, purporting it to be happening on that day. And so in this context, we are very optimistic that a technology like C2PA offers such a huge potential for us as editors and journalists to counter misinformation and disinformation, because it allows the user to tell if the content is real or not, because the technology allows media content in partnership with the platforms like Twitter, now X, Facebook, and others to sign their content that allows users to tell that this is really from the channel or this is really from this particular media outlet and not an impersonation. And of course, we are also happy to work with the BBC Media Action, which is helping us better understand this technology and apply it in our day-to-day operations. Thank you, but goodbye.
Well, thank you, Khalifa. I want to turn to you, Krilo. And can you talk about C2PA a little bit? Who is C2PA and what do you do? And what are your challenges? And then what do you think about the C2PA in your day-to-day work? Why is relevant to you?
Yeah, thank you, Müge. Hello, everyone. So I represent C2PA. This is public service media from Ukraine. It was established as an independent media institution 8 years ago. And since that time, specifically 5 years ago, we started intense digital transformation. And there are a lot of outputs of this process, like organizational, content-wise, and BBC Media Action and other partners invest a lot of their time and resources to support us on this journey. And specifically, 5 years ago, our flagship digital news platform was launched. It is called C2PA.media, and you can access it through any browser. And using this platform and our other digital channels, we deliver high-quality journalism. What does it mean? So we recognize our main mission is to empower citizens' decision-making by providing them with a high-quality journalism. And our output is recognized by independent watchdog organization as one of the most trustworthy journalistic products, meaning that we totally adhere to journalistic standards. And operating in Ukrainian media context and global context, we encountered obviously really aggressive competition for the attention of our audiences. And specifically now we're countering hybrid warfare and disinformation that has been intensified severely since the full-scale Russia invasion to Ukraine. Also, it affects the operational conditions, both for audience and for media. For example, only this night, Russia launched more than 370 drones and missiles in total. So also another take of media sphere that get us tackling these challenges is the rise of AI, supporting AI-powered systems, also algorithmic-based news feeds, for example, as Google Discover. All of these products, they operate at some extent as a black boxes, and there are really lack of signals and parameters they can embrace to arrange the content with the most value for the end user. And talking about C2PA technology and the pilot we would like to run with the BBC, and the process that now leading by Charlie is to get this technology incorporated into the end-to-end process of web publishing. So we can provide our audience with at least one additional mean to draw a distinctive line between the trustworthy content and kind of other content. So the value is huge, and it might sound boring when it comes to C2PA, recognized as some standard, but in general for UAPBC we recognize it as an innovation vibe. So some piece of code can just dramatically change the way content appears into the screens of our end users, and they can end up with a change in their behavior, recognizing the high quality content and put the preferences on that compared to some other resources. So yeah, this is a value. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Charlie, I want to ask you, where do you see these technologies going next? and how actually we can make it broader adoption, especially by the global majority?
Okay, hopefully where we will see the technology going next is expansion in where it's being used. So we're really hoping that we're going to see more media organizations using it. We're really hoping to be able to put a pilot in place with Suspilna. That would be fantastic. There's lots of other people that are involved. We'd also love to see more support from platforms, social media platforms. I think most media organizations get a lot of their traffic, or a lot of their audiences come via social media platforms. That might be TikTok, it might be YouTube, it might be Facebook, lots of them. And then there's also a few other considerations, I guess, to help us get that broader adoption. So there's a concept called redaction in C2PA. So that's the idea that you want to show people as much information as possible, right, to help them make a decision about, is this trustworthy? But sometimes that information can hurt people. Maybe it could hurt the subject of the photo. Maybe it could hurt the person taking it, so location and date and time. So having the ability to remove those things where somebody might be put at risk is really important. That's redaction, so we need to see that implemented. We've got device and tool adoption, so we need to get to a place where it's possible for any organization or any person taking a picture with their camera that it's just built in. They don't need to do anything special. I think that's starting to happen, but we need that to roll out more. We also need, if you're going to be part of this as a media organization, you need to be able to look after your private key. That's the thing that's going to be really important to you. So developing security procedures. We've talked about platforms, pilots. So I think really it's about finding the right use case. What's the best thing that helps you out? Maybe it's showing users on your platform more detail about your content. Maybe it's telling people on social media that this is really from you. Another one is considering how content comes into your organization. If lots of people send you images, maybe images and videos from users, being able to detect maybe whether they are genuine is really important. So do that at that point. And then media literacy is probably one of the biggest ones on this list. Helping your users understand what all of this means. You can't just put this information in front of people and expect them to understand it. So we have to use our products, we have to use our journalism to explain to people what this means.
And thank you very much. And how C2PA works for AI-generated content?
Okay, so on AI-generated content, a few organizations now, so OpenAI and Microsoft, are actually putting AI labels into their content, and they're using C2PA. And so if you click through to the next slide, I think if some social media companies are now using that, so if you click through again, this is an example of TikTok, and where they detect a C2PA AI label, they actually let users know, and we're hoping this will become more broadly adopted as we go forward. If you click, so that's just the AI label. And then I think this next one, just a little video, so if you click play on that. So this is a prototype that we're working on. And so here I've added an AI image, and I'm just in the background, I'm inspecting the C2PA label. And because it was produced by one of those tools, you can see that that's been AI generated. They're not bulletproof at the moment. We still need to use other techniques to detect whether something's AI generated, but this is a good first start at that.
Well, thank you very much. We have some time for questions, and please fire up. And we'd like to hear from you, your thoughts, and any experiences, any challenges that you're facing, and do you think C2PA is important to you? So please go in. And I'm also checking Slido if anything comes up on online.
Just a second. I think there is a question from there.
Last one, thanks. This is great, and I'm a big supporter of C2PA. But I wanted to ask a couple questions on the public side of it, in terms of the public response and recognition of it. I'm Amy Mitchell with Center for News Technology Innovation, and look a lot at sort of how do we think about really public service in these kinds of things, and there can be value in internal kinds of signals that maybe aren't meant for public-facing purposes, but in the space where you're looking to really have the public benefit and understand the integrity. In your research and tests, have you seen them recognize the sign, the print, the content label that's on there, and respond positively in choice, or is it more at this point about interest in it? Interest in having something like that be a sign. I'd be curious.
Charlie, would you like to go?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's a really good question. So when the research I showed there, we showed people without any extra data, and we showed them with the extra data. We showed them a C2PA logo. We didn't get any comments back about any recognition yet. So as a brand, I don't think C2PA has much public recognition. So I think in terms of media literacy, that's a job for us to do. But in terms of us giving them the extra data, that was a big trust indicator. So that had a direct impact, not just on interest, but on how trustworthy people found the content itself.
Thank you. We have a question on Slido. Is there any plan to integrate C2PA to existing regulations for information integrity, such as EU DSA or Online Safety Act of the UK?
So I guess it's being looked at by many different organizations, many regulatory bodies around the world. I'm not sure if it has been named directly in any of them, but there's quite a lot of regulation that's starting to come out that's talking about the need to label things, particularly from an AI perspective. So you're getting a lot more AI labeling requirements. Whether we would ever push to get C2PA as a technology embedded into legislation, I'm not sure. It might be useful to get some movement, but then if there's standard changes at a later date, maybe we'd want some flexibility. But the idea of provenance, the idea of labeling, I think would be really great.
I think we have time for one more question, if you want to ask any from the room. I just want to ask last question about the social media platforms, how they're adopting so far, and what's the response in detail?
So I think the response has been mixed but positive. So most of the adoption we see are in social media platforms using C2PA to understand whether something has been labeled as AI. They're most interested in that situation. We've seen less adoption for people interested in labeling things as from the BBC, from Cispilna, or maybe showing you more detail about your media. But we're hopeful that the more content we see, the more we publish, the more social media organizations will start to adopt. And really, it's for us to request that of those platforms, I think.
Well, thank you so much. We are at the end of the session now, but if you're interested in investing into this standards, and if you want to have questions or sharing ideas, we're just here, and just come and then join the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.